A healthy life starts with great sleep. Wake refreshed with Avocado's GOTS-certified organic green mattress, delivering breathable, back-loving support, natural materials from Avocado's own sustainable wool and latex farms, easy financing, a 1-year sleep trial, and deep, restorative slumbers. Organic sleep awaits at avocadomattress.com.
Memorial Day doorbuster deals are here at Lowe's. Right now, Rewards members save $80 on the Master Forge 4-burner gas grill, now just $149. Plus, Rewards members save $900 on the Lowe's exclusive Hisense French door refrigerator, now only $999. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change.
Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Josh All alone, your host today. And I just want to wish everybody, I hope you guys had a happy Memorial Day weekend. You know, we didn't do an episode over the weekend. I had the interview with Jake Burns lined up for Sunday and everything, but just wanted to make sure you guys all had a great time with hopefully you had a day off, great long weekend, and hopefully your week now is off to a good start. I know the Browns week is off to a start because it is the first day of OTAs for this year. So the first session is right here this week, today, tomorrow, and then the last day is on Friday. We're going to be detailing everything, all the news and notes that comes out of Browns OTAs this week. Over the weekend, there will be an episode recapping the first stretch of OTAs. But today, what I really want to dive into, I did positional breakdowns for the Browns roster. Last year, I went position by position in each episode. I went into probably a little more detail than I might have needed to do at that point in time. So what I want to do here is I just want to hit the entire offensive side of the ball today, go through each position, talk about the players the Browns have under contract at those positions, and discuss, their contracts, who I think is going to make the roster, who might not, who might be on the bubble, that sort of thing. And then we'll do the defensive side of the ball probably next week to round out the whole team. So before I dive into the positions, I just want to remind you guys, make sure if you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything new. We've got some live streams coming up here in the month of June. We'll be doing the Tuscarawas County Browns Backers Bowling event. We'll be streaming live from Wabash Lanes in New Philadelphia. There's going to be Browns alumni, a current Browns player, Ralph Hawley, will be with us. We'll be interviewing those guys live, so you can sit there or you can come join us on the stream and watch us interview everybody and have a good time there. We're also we're planning to at least go back up to the National High School Football Hall of Fame and talk to and interview some of the players getting inducted this year. There's a lot of fun. Last year, we interviewed Nate Burleson, Eddie George, Bob Golick, just a bunch of players up there. That it was a ton of fun. Very good discussions that we had with those guys. And then obviously, if you're listening on audio platforms, give us a 5-star review, follow the show. We appreciate everything you guys do for us in supporting the show. And to kind of give back to you guys a little more, we have this option available. We don't talk about it enough, and I really want to start highlighting this as an opportunity for you guys to get your voices, or at least your questions, on the show. So what I want to start doing, at least specifically for these solo episodes that I do sometimes during the weeks, I want to start doing a listener mailbag segment. So if you've got questions about the Browns and you've never gotten your voice on a show or anything like that before, this is your chance. Go to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail in the menu, and you can record a message, you can record a question, submit it. And the nice thing about that feature is if you record it and you don't like it or you messed up, you can just erase it and re-record it. You can do it as many times as you want to till you get it right, till you get what you want, and send it to us. I'll play it here on the show. I'll respond to your question. And if you don't want to do that, there's also an option there to send us a message. So if you don't want your actual voice on the show, I know that's not everybody's comfortable with that. You can just type out a message, type out a question, send it to us, and we will answer it on the show. I'd like to start doing listener mailbag segments, at least for the last 5 minutes or so of each episode, just to give you guys an opportunity to get your questions and opinions on the show. So make sure you guys go check that out, thedogspodcast.com. And the last thing I got to do, just if you guys want to join the dog pack, go to jointhedogs.com. Fantasy football signups are going to open June 1st. So that is Sunday. We are within a week. Signups are going to open. We're going to start organizing the leagues a lot earlier this summer than we have in the past because we've just got a lot more interest in people wanting to join fantasy football leagues with the dog pack. So get in now, reserve your spot for fantasy football. And it's just a great way to help support the show. And, you get access to the private Discord. You can be part of this diehard Browns community online that we have created. And it's really cultivated and grown itself. And it's just an amazing place to be. So it's just $5 a month. Check it out. Get in there now. Sign up for fantasy football. And the only stipulation for fantasy is you just have to be a Patreon member throughout the entire NFL season or, the fantasy football season in order to play with us. So get in now. Jointhedogs.com. All right. So we are going to kick things off at the most important position. Obviously, this is probably what a lot of people want to hear about. And it's what we're going to be talking a lot about here, not just at OTAs, but during the entire summer, the entire preseason and training camp period. It's going to be quarterback. So let's take a look real quick at what the roster looked like in 2024. Last year for the Browns, it was Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Tyler Huntley. The Browns did go into the season on the initial 53 with 4 quarterbacks on the roster. So all these people who say, you can't keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster. Well, they literally just did it last year. Now, do I think they're going to do it with the 4 quarterbacks they have right now? Probably not. Very unlikely. But not out of the realm of possibility. So this year, we're just going to start with, the projected starter at the time. I know that they've got, the reports came out. Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel are taking the rotating for whatever. It's Joe Flacco. And I've got my Honolulu, Hawaii Browns backer shirt on today. Shout out to Lee Shelko, the president out there in Hawaii. He is a Joe Flacco wacko. So this segment is for you, Lee, and you're not alone, man. Browns fans love them some Joe Flacco. 6'6", 230 pounds. He is 40 years old. This is his 19th year in the NFL. So he's coming up on 2 decades in the NFL. That's no small feat whenever you consider, and I'm just spitballing here based on some memory, but I think the average NFL career is something like 2.5 years, 3 years, maybe something like that. It's very short. It's very brief. This is just a brief moment in time for most of the players to actually make it to the NFL. So here's Joe coming up on 2 full decades almost. So Joe Flacco, he's on a 1-year contract, a $2.85 million cap hit with $1.6 million in dead cap with $1.2 million saved for the Browns against the cap. If they were to cut or trade Joe Flacco, there'd be basically no money lost if they move on from Joe during the summer. Not saying they're going to, not saying they won't, just saying that the option is there for them to do so if that's what they decide to do. So we know the story from 2 seasons ago in 2023. Joe Flacco came in off the couch. That's everyone's favorite phrase. I mean, he wasn't just sitting on the couch. He was training and staying in shape and all that stuff. But, you get the idea. He was not on a team, not in the league. Nobody really wanted him back then. And he came in to Cleveland, led the team to a 4-1 record over the final stretch of the season, made a playoff push, threw for 1,616 yards, 13 touchdowns in those 5 games. He did have 8 interceptions, but he did set the records for most 300-yard games in a row and all that kind of stuff for the Browns that year. It was a fantastic time. If you weren't along for the ride, if you're one of the newer Browns fans, if you're coming in from the Colorado fan base or whatever, welcome. Hey, we love having you guys, but you missed a hell of a time in 2023. If you don't understand why Browns fans are hyped on Joe Flacco being in Cleveland, trust me, there's a good reason for it, because it was a great time. It was also not a sustainable time. Joe Flacco's never played a full 16/17 game season since 2017, his last season with the Ravens. So it's been, 8 years now. So I'm not, even if he does start out as the starter, very difficult to imagine him playing an entire season at this point in his career. Last year, he was in Indianapolis with the Colts. He split time on and off with Anthony Richardson there. He was, 2-4 as the starter last year with 1,761 yards. He did throw 12 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in his 6 starts. Moving down my projected depth chart, respect your elders. These are the veterans. We'll do the kids, the rookies last. Kenny Pickett, 6'3", 220 pounds. The Browns traded a 5th-round pick in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. over to the Eagles a few months ago in exchange for Kenny Pickett. He's 26 years old. This is his fourth season in the NFL, so he hasn't been in the NFL for all that long. Still on his rookie contract, but he's on a 1-year deal here with the Browns. They declined to pick up his option earlier this month. That was a no-brainer. They were never going to pick it up. It was a guaranteed $22 million in 2026 next year, which you're not paying Kenny Pickett $22 million in 2026 before he's ever taken a snap for you. And you got 2 rookies you want to evaluate, and you got 2 first-round picks next year. Kenny Pickett's here on this 1-year contract, so it's kind of a prove-it year for Kenny if he does indeed win the starting job. He's got a $2.6 million cap number. It's guaranteed this year, so that's also his dead cap number if he is traded or cut. $2.6 million, not a lot, but it is a check mark kind of in his favor of being kept on the roster this season over Joe, which I just said, Joe's kind of like a no money loss situation if they do move on from him. Whereas Pickett is a $2.6 million loss. Again, not a huge number, but it still matters when you're putting together the salary cap, for your roster. So in college, Kenny Pickett, 2 seasons. Not in college, in the NFL. 2 seasons as the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They took him in the first round. He had a 14-10 record in those 24 starts over 2 years. He threw for about 2,000 yards in each season. Had 7 touchdowns and 9 interceptions as a rookie, and then 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions as a sophomore in the NFL. So Kenny Pickett, if you're doing the math, that is 13 total touchdowns over 2 seasons. 7 is his career high. The number one reason here why I'm not optimistic about Kenny Pickett leading our offense to a lot of scoring drives and a lot of touchdowns is because he's never thrown a lot of touchdowns in his NFL career. And I get it. Blake's argument, the Matt Canada, Pittsburgh Steelers offense is garbage and doo-doo, and it was terrible. But at the same time, Kenny Pickett was still awful. I mean, I understand that the offense was bad. So what's the situation here? Chicken or egg, right? Is Kenny Pickett bad, or was the offense bad, or were they both just bad? Either way, Kenny Pickett has not shown an ability to throw a high amount of touchdowns. He's never had double-digit touchdowns in a single season in his career, all that kind of stuff. So I put the odds very low. 1, that he wins the starting job. It is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible for me. I think it's less likely than other people may believe. And even if he does, which is great, if he does, that means he showed out and he earned the spot. I just don't have high hopes for him scoring a lot of points this year for the Browns offense. But we'll see. That's just my opinion. You guys let me know in the comments how you guys feel about Kenny Pickett if he were to win the Browns starting job. So we'll move on to Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, these guys are on their rookie deals. Dillon Gabriel, 5'11". Yes, he's 5'11". He's not 5'8" or 5'9", like some of you yahoos in the comments like to say. 205 pounds. He's 24 years old. Was the 94th pick in the 3rd round this year. Like I said, he's on his 4-year rookie contract. Shedeur Sanders, 6'1", 212 is what the Browns list him on their website. Interestingly enough, he's listed as 6'2" everywhere else. He's 23 years old, just a year younger than Dillon Gabriel, 144th pick in the 5th round. So we know the story by now about these rookie quarterbacks. They were both among the country or nation leaders in college football in yards, touchdowns, completion percentage. They both had very low turnover rates, both had a ton of accolades. I've been through them all. We're not going to go through them all. Both have a pretty even shot, in my opinion, to compete and potentially win the starting spot even as soon as week 1 for this season. They've both played a ton of college football, many starts. I mean, Dillon Gabriel has the career record for most starts in college football history, and both are well experienced to help them in their transition to the NFL. So it's very realistic. This is the most real, true, authentic quarterback competition the Browns have ever had, at least under Kevin Stefanski. He's always had it was Baker Mayfield the first 2 years. You knew Baker was the starter. It was Deshaun Watson the next 2 years. You knew, next 3 years, Deshaun Watson, you knew he was the week 1 starter. Well, I guess not in 2022 because he was suspended, but you knew he was the starter. You were just doing a stopgap with whoever you signed, and it ended up being Jacoby Brissett. This is the first year in Kevin Stefanski, there is no week 1 starter. There is no presumed guy. Even though I said, maybe we'll presume Joe Flacco, nothing is given here. So any one of these 4 guys could be the week 1 starter, which is going to make the summer super interesting. I do still have to mention Deshaun Watson again for this year because he is technically on the roster, but I expect him to spend the entire 2025 season on the IR. He'll never play for the Browns again. Like I said, he's technically on the roster. Anybody out there saying, "Oh, just cut the bum" and all this stuff, his dead cap hits dictate that he has to be on the roster. Let's see. It would cost the Browns somewhere around $131 million against the cap if they cut him, just in case you guys were curious about the numbers. So right now, Deshaun Watson is $36 million of this year's cap, but there should be injury relief coming from the games that he missed last year in 2024. And then we're going to get a whole lot of cap relief in 2026 if/when he spends all of 2025 on IR. This episode is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. Browns fans, it's almost June, and you know what that means. Father's Day is right around the corner. And if you're struggling to figure out what to get Dad for Father's Day, just remember one simple thing. Dads want steak. That's right. So shop omahasteaks.com and give Dad the legendary Heartland quality he deserves. Plus, our listeners get an extra $35 off with promo code BARK, B-A-R-K, at checkout. Omaha Steaks is what I get my dad, my grandpa, my brother. Everybody gets Omaha Steaks for Father's Day because it's just the best food you can possibly get. They've got packages with the steaks, obviously, but there's burgers, there's brats, there's jumbo franks, there's chicken, there's the caramel apple tartlets for dessert. Unbelievable. The scallop potatoes. They have appetizers. Anything you need for Father's Day, they've got ready for you guys. So this Father's Day, give Dad the world's best steak experience with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for guaranteed perfect gifts that deliver legendary quality. And for the extra $35 off, use promo code BARK, B-A-R-K, at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code BARK at checkout. See site for details.
A healthy life starts with great sleep. Wake refreshed with Avocado's GOTS certified organic green mattress, delivering breathable, back-loving support, natural materials from Avocado's own sustainable wool and latex farms, easy financing, a 1-year sleep trial, and deep, restorative slumbers. Organic sleep awaits at avocadomattress.com.
Memorial Day doorbuster deals are here at Lowe's. Right now, rewards members save $80 on the Master Forge 4-burner gas grill, now just $149. Plus, rewards members save $900 on the Lowe's exclusive Hisense French door refrigerator, now only $999. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change.
All right, let's kick it over to the running back position. Last year, the Browns went into the season with Jerome Ford, Deontay Foreman, Pierre Strong, and then obviously Nick Chubb was on the roster whenever he came back. He started the season on the PUP. Quinshon Judkins this year is projected, in my opinion, at least to be the RB1. I don't see how he isn't by anyone's evaluation here. So 5'11", 221, 21 years old, 36th overall pick in the second round this past draft. Like the other guys at the quarterback position, he is on his 4-year rookie deal. Dude was a stud in college. Obviously, I am a Ohio State fan. I've got Quinshon Judkins right around. See if I can point my finger the right way. Right there for the national championship Buckeyes. 1,000-yard rusher every season in college. 10-plus touchdowns every season. Was the workhorse back at Ole Miss. Kept him fresh last season at Ohio State as he split the role with Travion Henderson, which is what I anticipate the Browns would try to do, at least starting out his career with the other guy they drafted, Dylan Sampson, 5'8", 200 pounds. He's just 20 years old. The 126th overall pick in the draft. He, was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Tennessee school record, 22 touchdowns, 1,000-plus yards this past season. Dude was a stud. The Browns landed a great 1-2 punch duo with these guys, and I project them to kind of want to emulate what the Lions are doing with a David Montgomery and a Jahmyr Gibbs and what the Buckeyes accomplished with Judkins and Henderson, and now I think the Browns are going to try to replicate that with Judkins and Sampson. So after the top two backs, it's Jerome Ford, 5'10", 210 pounds, 25 years old. This is his 4th year in the league. It's the final year of his rookie deal. He's the guy who took the pay cut a few weeks ago to kind of just secure his spot on the roster. He's now just a $1.83 million cap hit number, and that is also his dead cap. So in 2022, as a rookie, Jerome Ford had just 8 carries for 12 yards in the entire rookie season. 2023, Chubb goes down week 2. Boom, Jerome Ford becomes the lead back. He ends up with 204 carries, 813 yards, 4 touchdowns, and caught 44 passes for 319 yards and 5 more touchdowns through the air. Average 4 yards per carry. We kind of know the story from 2023. The offensive line banged up all year, lost Jack Conklin the first week, ended up losing Jed Wills, the left tackle, ended up losing DeJuan Jones, the fill-in rookie right tackle. We were starting practice squad tackles. We were, guys are missing, games or snaps here and there on the interior. It was just bad. Just bad. Jerome Ford is not an efficient running back to begin with. And then if you don't give him ample blocking up front, it's just bad, bad, bad. So that was 2023. Last year in 2024, Jerome Ford was the lead back until Nick Chubb came back. And then the two guys split work. He ended up with 104 carries last year, 565 yards, just 3 touchdowns. He added 37 catches for 225 yards, no receiving touchdowns last year in 2024. And that brings us to Pierre Strong, the last guy on this list who I don't see him making the active roster this year. Maybe they end up putting him on the practice squad. I think he could be a candidate for that because I don't know who the hell's picking up Pierre Strong. But 5'11", 215, 26 years old. This is his 4th year in the league. He's also in the last year of a rookie deal. Like I said, cut candidate, maybe practice squad guy. Moving into wide receivers last year in 2024, the Browns went into the season with Amari Cooper at the top, Jerry Jeudy, who they had just traded for and extended. They had Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, David Bell, Michael Woods, and 5th-round rookie Jamari Thrash. Now, going into 2025, the lead receiver is obviously Jerry Jeudy, 6'1", 195 pounds. He's 26 years old. This is already his 6th year in the NFL. The Browns, like I said, traded for and extended him last offseason. Just an $8 million cap number this season. So this is Andrew Berry working these deals. And say what you will about Andrew Berry, hate him, love him, don't like some things about him. The dude knows how to work contracts and financially manipulate the salary cap. He's an expert at this. So like I said, they extended him last year, but he's just an $8 million cap hit this year, $10.3 million cap hit in 2026, and a $13.4 million cap hit in 2027. Now that jumps up to a $29 million cap hit in 2028, but that's the first void year, and that will likely be spread out by then at least, after a restructure or two down the road. So very manageable contract for Jerry Jeudy to have a wide receiver 1 at this price point. He finally had his big breakout season last year with the Browns after 4, okay seasons with the Denver Broncos. He wasn't bad in Denver. He just wasn't the elite productive wide receiver that they thought they were getting, when they took him in the first round out of Alabama. So last year, 90 catches on 145 targets. He had 1,229 yards. These are all career highs for him. He only had 4 touchdowns, but then again, we didn't score very many touchdowns last season overall. The passing game was complete garbage, so the fact that Jerry Jeudy was able to produce career highs in targets, receptions, and yards shows how much he dominated the target share last year on the field. We didn't really see him take off. He had some nice moments before Week 8, but it was the Week 8 game against Baltimore where he really started to take off and solidify himself as the top receiver in this offense. Before that Week 8, he had several games, though, where he had just 1 catch. There was hardly anything to talk about from his stat line. But once Amari Cooper got traded and Jameis Winston, the most competent quarterback we had last year, finally took over, Jeudy launched into a run that would see him end the season as the 6th best receiver in the entire NFL in terms of receiving yardage. He was top 6. Unreal. So the question now that I've been asking this entire offseason, because I don't like to crown people things before they really earn it. Now, he had a hell of a season. Question now, can he do it again? It's time for Jerry Jeudy to finally start stacking seasons like this to firmly put his name in the conversation for one of the top wide receivers in the league, what he was drafted to be. We see guys all the time come into the NFL, not do a whole lot, and then they have one blow-up year, and that was really all their career had, and then it was just kind of middling the rest of the way. I'm hoping Jerry Jeudy is not that. I want Jerry Jeudy to stack these seasons together and solidify himself in the conversation for wide receivers in this league. Now, wide receiver 2, Cedric Tillman. This is where, our wide receiver room, it's iffy. it's definitely iffy. So Cedric Tillman, 6'3", 215, 25 years old, third year in the league. He's got 1 year left after this on his rookie deal. Cap number just $1.5 million. Now, he caught just 21 passes for 224 yards as a rookie. Very minimal involvement in the offense. And then absolutely nothing to speak about for Cedric Tillman last year in 2024 in the first 6 weeks of the season. Over those first 6 games, he had 5 targets, 3 catches, 9 yards. That was Cedric Tillman last year, and it looked like, boy, this looks like another flame-out third-round pick at receiver for the Browns. And then suddenly Amari Cooper gets moved, Deshaun Watson gets hurt, and boom, Tillman breaks out with Jameis Winston for 8 catches, 7 catches, 6 catches. He has 81 yards, 99 yards, 75 yards. And those were the games against the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Chargers. He had 3 touchdowns, 2 of them coming against the Ravens. He was on a tear, and it looked like the breakout is here. This is Cedric Tillman. This is what we thought we were getting when he came, out of college from Tennessee. This is the guy that I was hyped that the Browns drafted. And then a freaking concussion against the Steelers in that Snow Bowl Thursday night game after he already had 3 catches for 47 yards on 8 targets and missed the rest of the game. Missed the rest of the season. So that's the concerning piece for Cedric Tillman. But his snap counts went from 30% over those first 6 weeks to over 90% snap count share during his 3-game stretch where he looked fantastic and was breaking out. So we need Cedric Tillman to be that guy this season. After him, it's hard to kind of see where to go in terms of who would be that third option in the receiving core, but I think it's at the moment it's got to be Deontay Johnson. As much as I'm not a big Deontay Johnson fan, based on his off-field antics, his locker room, he just can't stick anywhere anymore. But he's a very good wide receiver, especially out of the slot where we need a guy. So he's 5'10", 183, 28 years old. This is his 7th NFL season. The Browns signed him to a 1-year deal for the veteran minimum of $1.17 million. The story last season, Steelers traded him before the season started, before camp and all that stuff, went to Carolina. He played there. He actually had a nice stretch in Carolina, but then things went, sour there. They traded him to the Ravens. And then, if I remember correctly, you guys tell me if I'm wrong about this in the comments, I think the Ravens then cut him. The Texans signed him, then they cut him. And then I think the Ravens signed and cut him again, if I'm not mistaken, after they had some injuries at wide receiver, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Either way, if he sticks on the roster, he can be a very reliable target, especially for a young quarterback, especially for this Kevin Stefanski, timing, rhythm. You need to be able to run your routes. You need to be able to create separation and be where you're supposed to be in a route. He's that kind of receiver. So I'm hoping he sticks. I'm hoping he can get over whatever was going on last year, but I would still, if I had to bet on it, I would say he's probably not on the week 1 roster. We'll see. I hope he can be. After Deontay Johnson, we're looking at David Bell, 6'1", 212 pounds, 24 years old. This is the final year of his rookie deal. Cap number just $1.4 million, so very easily could not be on this team week 1 if the Browns don't want him. He missed all of last season with a hip injury, very minimal production in his first 2 seasons. 24 catches for 214 yards as a rookie. Then he had 14 catches for just 167 yards and 3 touchdowns in his second season. And then, 68 of those yards. Okay, so his second season was 2023. And if you guys remember, we had the Week 18 exhibition game down in Cincinnati against the Bengals where we started Jeff Driscoll. We benched all our starters getting ready for the playoffs and all that stuff. David Bell was like our lead receiver. And he had 68 of his 167 yards that year, and 2 of those 3 touchdowns all came in that one game where he was the wide receiver 1. So again, even less production his second season than his rookie season. So I was so excited for David Bell whenever the Browns drafted him because he was a college football dominator in the Big Ten. He was I think he was the Big Ten wide receiver of the year, all that kind of stuff. His accolades in college were incredible at Purdue. Just never really transitioned to the NFL very well. So David Bell, maybe on the roster, maybe not. After him, Michael Woods II, 6'1", 204 pounds. He's 25 years old. This is his 4th year in the league. It's the 3rd season, though, that actually counts because if you remember, he missed his 2nd season with a torn Achilles, and I think that actually happened in like OTA time, so about this time of year. So as OTAs kick off this week and everything, prayers for the players' safety and health. I know it's just, helmets and shorts and everything this week, but guys can still get hurt, unfortunately. So I hope to God everybody stays healthy. So anyway, back to Michael Woods. So he only has 2 accrued NFL seasons. His cap number, just $1 million cap hit. Last year, he caught 7 passes for 65 yards. Another guy that maybe he's here, maybe he's not. Jamari Thrash, after him, 6 foot, 190 pounds, 24 years old already, and it's just his 2nd season. He was the 5th round pick for the Browns last year. $1 million cap hit. Essentially no production as a rookie. He had 7 targets last year, 3 receptions, 22 yards. Whoop-de-freaking-do. Not much to speak of. These Browns rookie receivers come in and do nothing as rookies. It's pretty much what it's been. And I get it. We're drafting 3rd round and beyond guys. So the odds of those type of players being able to come in and make an impact right away as rookies isn't very high to begin with. I get that. I understand it. But it just, even, Bell, Woods, Tillman, when they start out their 2nd season, it's like still, man, they're just not doing a whole heck of a lot. So we'll see what happens this year. I think the Browns are going to need to continue to add pieces to this wide receiver room throughout the summer, throughout camp and that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll do an episode here in the future talking about some possible additions for the Browns at wide receiver, but I don't think they can possibly be done yet. But maybe they are. I wouldn't be if I was the Browns. I also want to mention that Cleveland also has Caden Davis on a futures deal, and they also have DeAndre Carter, who they signed primarily as a return specialist, and he most famously stole the number 2 from Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, you know how the narrative is. Joking, but in all reality, it's unlikely Carter plays much at the wide receiver position. He's 32 years old, 5'8", 188. If he makes the roster, it will be most likely as strictly as a return man. Last skill position group, the tight ends. So last year, the Browns went into the season with only David Njoku and Jordan Akins on the roster. As the season went on and we suffered injuries, we had Blake Whiteheart off the practice squad sprinkled in when Njoku was down with his injury. And David Njoku, obviously tight end 1, 6'4", 246 pounds. He's 28 years old. This is his 9th NFL season. It's the final year of his contract, and a lot of people are expecting the Browns to extend him, and I think they will because yes, we drafted Harold Fannin, who I'll get to here in a minute, but he's not a prototypical tight end 1. I don't think they brought him in to be a tight end 1, and it would be silly of the Browns to think that he could be the tight end 1 next year. You need a guy like David Njoku, especially since tight end is such a difficult position for young guys to transition in the NFL. It is every year. David Njoku needs to get extended. Right now, his cap hit is $11.4 million. That could go down if they extend him and then they backload his new contract like they always do, which would reduce the number this year, all that kind of stuff. He missed 6 games last year in 2024. He ended the season with 97 targets, 64 receptions for 505 yards and 5 touchdowns. It was a big-time down year after he had a career season in 2023, which was largely fueled by the Joe Flacco stretch run. So I know we're excited. I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited to see what Flacco and Njoku, can they pick up where they left off? If Flacco gets the starting job, can they pick up where they left off in 2023? Now we'll talk about Harold Fannin Jr., 6'3", 240. He's only 20 years old. I keep harping on this because it's only his 3rd year playing the position of tight end at just 20 years old, and he was already the college football leader, the entire nation leader in targets with 150, receptions 115, yards 1,555. He led the entire country in all those categories, and he also had 10 touchdowns. He had 50% of his team's passing yards at Bowling Green. 50%. He did all that, like I said, just 20 years old, just 3 years playing tight end, and he did it as a tight end. Tight ends do not do what Harold Fannin just did in college football, especially when opposing defenses can tee off on you. They know you're the guy getting the ball. You are the offense. You are 50% of the passing yards for this offense. They are coming to you every single play, and he's still able to produce. I'm very excited to see what Harold Fannin Jr. can add to the Browns offense this year. And then we'll talk about Blake Whitehart's the only other tight end that I'm going to dive into here. He's 6'4", 250, 25 years old, third season. Last year, he had 6 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown in 2024. Stats are nothing spectacular, but Whitehart did look fairly solid, in my opinion, in his limited spots last season. I thought he looked good enough to be hopeful for a better contributing role here in 2025. He could probably hold down the more prototypical duties of a tight end too, inline, blocking. He's the 6'4", 250 guy to kind of be that 2 tight end set with Njoku. I think, and I could be totally wrong, but people are talking about the 2 tight end sets with Njoku and Fannin, but I think Harold Fannon's going to be more used as a big slot. Going back to the wide receiver discussion, Deontay Johnson talk, we do not have a reliable slot receiver right now. Yes, Judy can move in and out, out wide into the slot if he needs to. Tillman can also work out of the slot. But if you can let those guys man the outsides and you can get a guy like Harold Fannin Jr. who's got incredible yards after the catch ability to roam that slot, to play the big slot, he takes advantage of the safeties. He can take advantage of the linebackers. I like his prospects there, and I think Whitehart could be used more in line. We'll see. Maybe Whitehart doesn't even make the final 53-man roster, but at this point in time, with the way the roster stands, that would be my prediction. The Browns also have Trey McKitty and Brendan Bates on reserve deals, practice squad guys. This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Guys, is your wedding band old, outdated, or just not the same taste you had when you were younger? Or hey, maybe you're about to get married, but you don't want to deal with the salespeople at the jewelry stores. Manly Bands has the best wedding bands made specifically for men. They have the classic timeless gold and white gold styles, but they also have rings made from platinum, black zirconium, tungsten, titanium, even materials like meteorite and dinosaur bone. Yes, your wedding ring could be made from a dinosaur fossil. That is a real thing. They also have different ring collections, like their Jack Daniels rings made from actual Jack Daniels whiskey barrels. They also have Lord of the Rings and DC Comics band collections. Head over to manlybands.com/dogs and take advantage of their 30% off sale with free shipping. Plus, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out for another 10% off your order. Now, every Manly Band comes with a free silicone ring, and if you don't know your ring size, that's okay. You can order a free ring size chart from Manly Bands to make sure that you know exactly the right size before you order. And then if you get your ring and it doesn't fit just right, you can always return it or exchange it without any hassle. And I know this because I like my rings to be a little more loose, and the first band that I got was just a little too snug for the way I like to wear it, so I exchanged it, and the whole process was quick, easy, and I had my new ring in no time. And now, Manly Bands is even accessorizing men beyond just your wedding rings with their chain necklaces and chain bracelets made for men by men. And if you need groomsmen gifts or anything else, Manly Bands has you covered with their barware, whiskey glasses, flasks. They even have customized coasters and flight trays. So skip the jewelry stores, avoid the salespeople, and get a wedding band that was designed for you. manlybands.com/dogs to get 30% off, free shipping, plus get an extra 10% off when you use code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. All right, so now we'll hit the last position group for the offense, the offensive line, the trenches, the big boys up front. We're going to start off with the offensive tackles. Last year, the Browns went in the season with Jack Conklin, Jedrick Wills, DeJuan Jones, and James Hudson as their tackles on the 53-man roster. So this year, looking at the roster as it currently stands, we've got Jack Conklin, 6'6", 308 pounds. He is 30 years old. This is his 10th NFL season. The Browns reworked his deal for this season in 2025. His cap number is now $5.6 million with a $20 million dead cap. So he is here for the season. Jack Conklin's not a guy who's getting moved over the summer. He did miss the first 5 weeks of 2024. He was still recovering from the knee injury that he sustained in week 1 against the Bengals in 2023. Last year, whenever he did come back, though, he played the rest of the season, and he allowed just 38 pressures and 7 sacks total on the year. Now, the other main tackle, the guy projected to start at the left tackle, DeJuan Jones, 6'8", 375 pounds. The dude is a mountain of a man. 23 years old, third NFL season, so he's very young still. And, what we saw from him as a rookie was really, really encouraging. Last year was not as much until he switched over to the left tackle spot. And it was like, maybe this guy can do something here. This is his third year of his rookie deal. He did miss time again in 2024 so he missed time during the season is what I'm getting at here. And then he suffered a season-ending ankle injury in week 11. Lost him for the second straight season. Ended both of his NFL seasons on IR. Not great. This is why the tackle position is definitely iffy for the Browns because Conklin's injury prone. Now you've got DeJuan Jones that you probably have to start labeling that way. He allowed 22 pressures, just 4 sacks in 2024, but his splits between right tackle and left tackle last year are what is so interesting. So filling in at right tackle before Jack Conklin got back from the injury, DeJuan Jones gave up 16 pressures and 4 sacks. When he moved over to left tackle, whenever Jed Wills decided he didn't want to play football anymore and all that kind of stuff, DeJuan Jones only gave up 6 pressures and 0 sacks in the 3 games at left tackle. So I did make a note here. Got to mention this. The 3 games whenever DeJuan Jones was playing left tackle were with Jameis Winston at quarterback. So all of the sack and pressure numbers from whenever he was at the right tackle, that might be a little more inflated over those first 6 weeks because Deshaun Watson was on pace for taking like the most single season sacks in NFL history. The dude was taking at minimum 6 sacks a game, if not more. It was very hard to watch. And, it got better once DeJuan Jones took over. Once Jameis Winston took over and DeJuan Jones moved over to left tackle. So the new face on the team here, they signed swing tackle Cornelius Lucas in free agency, 6'9", 325 pounds. So the Browns actually found somebody who's taller than DeJuan Jones, surprisingly. He's 33 years old. This is his 11th season in the NFL. They signed him to a 1-year, $1.65 million deal. He played his last 5 seasons in Washington with the Commanders. He has played both tackle spots back and forth during his career. He's logged starts at both right and left tackle. Last season, he played 464 total snaps, 273 pass blocking snaps. He allowed just 12 total pressures and only 1 sack the entire season. So he is in my opinion, excellent swing tackle signing. Should be very good for us since we know, and I already mentioned that we've got injury-prone guys in Conklin and Jones at the tackle position. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Cornelius Lucas playing snaps at one of the tackles, maybe both tackles at certain points this season, probably getting a start or 2 here and there. It's probably going to happen. So just be prepared for that. But I think they've got a guy who can handle it, and I like this signing a lot. Currently on the roster for the summer, the Browns also have Roy Mbeteka. He's the international program player for that roster spot, and Julian Pearl, 2 guys on reserve deals. Last but not least, let's move into the interior of the offensive line. So we're going to look at last year. It was Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Zach Zinter, Javian Cohen at the guards, and you had Ethan Posick, Nick Harris, and Luke Whippler, who was obviously on IR all year at the center position. Joel Bitonio is 6'4", 320 pounds, 33 years old. This will be his 12th and most likely final season in the NFL. So let's try our best to enjoy what we have left with Joel Bitonio this season before this ride is over, because it has been a fun ride with Joel Bitonio. I did not, looking back, I don't feel like I enjoyed having Joe Thomas on the team enough, and then all of a sudden he suffered that torn triceps and then snap, boom, just like that, his career was over. And, looking back, I wish I had enjoyed the time having Joe Thomas. I know the team sucked, but the whole time he was here, but still he's a Hall of Fame, legendary player. So I'm just trying to enjoy having Joel Bitonio more because I want to appreciate what he brings to the team while we have him. He's a $12 million cap hit this season. This guy has played 1,000 or more snaps in 9 of his 11 seasons. 1,000 or more snaps in the last 8 consecutive seasons, including 1,178 snaps last year in 2024. He allowed just 32 total pressures and only 3 sacks on 815 pass blocking snaps. Joel Bitonio is, in my opinion, maybe not first ballot, not like Joe Thomas, but he is a future Pro Football Hall of Famer. Moving over to the other guard, Wyatt Teller, who is a personal friend of the show. You know, his wife sends us Christmas cards and all that stuff, so we're pretty close with Teller. All right, I'm stretching that a little bit, but his wife did send us a Christmas card once, so there is that. I'm not lying about that. But Wyatt Teller, 6'4", 315 pounds. He is 30 years old, 8th NFL season, $14.2 million cap hit with a $20 million dead cap. This could possibly be his final season in Cleveland, too. The contract makes him very movable for cap relief next year in 2026. Not movable right now because of that $20 million dead cap, but for next year, he might not be on this team. 885 snaps in 2024, 610 pass blocking snaps. He allowed 27 pressures and just 2 sacks all season. So even with the abysmal quarterback play last year, guys just holding on to the ball forever, just trying to take sacks, both Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller had fantastic seasons. Moving on here, Zach Zinter, the rookie from last year, 6'6", 310 pounds, 24 years old. This is going to be his second season. He was our 3rd round pick last year in 2024. Obviously, not a whole lot to talk about with Zinter because he played as a depth role last year. He had a couple starts when Wyatt Teller was injured, but I guess Bitonio did miss a little time during a game or two here and there. So Zinter filled in at points. He did start 3 games as a rookie. His biggest and best game was against the Washington Commanders. He started and played 62 snaps. He allowed just 2 pressures and only 1 sack, and that was with Deshaun Watson back there just trying to take sacks. So Zinter played pretty well that game. He also started against the Raiders, 59 snaps, allowed 3 pressures and a sack against the Raiders. I'm definitely optimistic about this kid. I think he was a stud at Michigan. The Browns definitely have him pegged as one of their future starting guards. No question in my mind that moving into 2026 with the most likely retirement of Joel Bitonio, the very likely trade of Wyatt Teller, Zach Zinter will be a starting offensive guard next year. Which then brings me to Tevin Jenkins, 6'6", 320 pounds, 27 years old. This is his 5th NFL season. He signed a 1-year, $2.3 million deal with the Browns this offseason. So, who is Tevin Jenkins? He is a former 2nd-round pick by the Chicago Bears back in 2021. He played his entire, obviously, rookie contract with the Bears, was a free agent this offseason, and most people thought that he would sign somewhere to be a starter. He was a starting level, starting caliber offensive guard, and, there was a lot of teams in free agency that needed that type of player this year. He didn't go anywhere to be a starter. He came to Cleveland in a depth role, which I find interesting, and maybe I'm overanalyzing it and looking too far into it, but I'll get to that in a second. Tevin Jenkins played both tackle and guard for the Bears, so as a rookie, he actually started at left tackle. So there's some versatility here, some flexibility within the scheme that Andrew Berry likes to have. He moved to guard his next season. He started 11 games at right guard before he was placed on IR. The next season, his 3rd season, he moved over to left guard. He missed the start of that season with a calf injury, but then he started 16 games last year for Chicago. 738 total snaps, 495 pass blocking snaps. He allowed just 17 pressures and only 4 sacks all year, and he was dealing with the same thing that Teller and Bitonio were dealing with here in Cleveland. Caleb Williams took a ton of sacks. That's all Caleb Williams wanted to do last year was get sacked, just like Deshaun Watson just wanted to get sacked all the time. So overall, Tevin Jenkins grades out very well, and he grades out very well in the run game. So what I was alluding to a few minutes ago, I wouldn't be surprised. This is something that I'm going to be watching as the season rolls on here. I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns either extend Tevin Jenkins at some point during the season, or they make him a high priority re-sign next offseason, and then they have Zach Zinter and Tevin Jenkins as the next reign of offensive guards on the Browns line. That's kind of how I'm looking at this with Tevin Jenkins, because I think the Browns see a future with him, and the future is not right now, but it is pretty darn close. As close as next year, or it could be this year if one of the 2 guards goes down. Now you've got a guy who's not just a depth piece, he is also a quality caliber starter. The Browns also have Javian Cohen, Lorenzo Thompson from the practice squad from last year, and they added rookie Brady Latham for camp this year. The last two guys to talk about here are the centers. Ethan Posick, 6'6", 320 pounds, 29 years old. It's his 9th NFL season, a $7.7 million cap hit this season. Final year on his current deal with the Browns. We'll see if he gets extended or re-signed. It could be his final year with the Browns. So the entire offensive line, especially like the interior right now, could look completely different next season. He played all year in 2024, 1,073 snaps, 747 pass blocking snaps. He allowed 28 pressures and just 3 sacks the entire year. So the interior of our offensive line, I know people want to dog the offensive line and say they were crap and they're getting old and they were terrible last year. The interior was pretty solid last year. If you go look at the numbers, go look at the stats, despite what they were given to play with, quarterbacks who had no idea what the hell they were doing in that weird Ken Dorsey offense last year, the offensive interior was pretty darn good. For Posick, last year was a down year for his PFF grades, but historically he does grade very well in both pass and run blocking for the Browns. And like I said, just 3 sacks allowed all last year. Finally, we'll wrap it up here. Luke Whippler, 6'3", 303 pounds, 24 years old. It's his 3rd season on his rookie deal with the Browns. I think he was a 6th or 7th round pick out of Ohio State as a rookie. I forget. It was one of those. He broke his ankle in the first preseason game last year, missed the entire season. So really the only action that we've ever seen in the NFL from the former Buckeye was that Week 18 game against the Bengals that I talked about with David Bell back in 2023. He started that game. He played 53 snaps, and he allowed just 2 pressures and no sacks in the game. So that's all we've ever seen at the NFL level from Luke Whippler. One final name to mention here, the Browns did sign Troy Hairston, fullback. Troy Hairston, 5'11", 245, 26 years old in his 3rd season. A guy that, if they decide to go with Judkins and Sampson and Jerome Ford at the running back position, Pierre Strong does not make the roster because they only keep 3 running backs. Troy Hairston at fullback could be a guy that makes the roster depending on how things go this season, how the Browns want to utilize him in the offense, because people do expect the Browns to implement or utilize the fullback position once again in this, callback to Kevin Stefanski's offense. So we'll see about Troy Hairston as the summer rolls along. But that's it for the offensive side of the ball. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Which of these, players on the offensive roster throughout camp, throughout the preseason and everything will earn themselves a spot on the 53-man roster, and who is going to be the odd men out, especially at the positions like wide receiver. You kind of know, as like offensive line, we know who's going to make this roster. We know which guys they're going to keep, which guys are going to be practice squad guys. The real wild cards are going to be that wide receiver position, and obviously the quarterbacks. And that quarterback competition kicks off today, and we will be recapping the first week of OTAs later this week, sometime over the weekend. We'll get that episode to you guys. Excited to do it. Excited to talk to you guys. Don't forget about the listener mailbag segment. Send in your questions. I'll start putting together those segments as the summer goes on, because I want to get your voices, your opinions, your thoughts, your questions on the show. So go to thedogspodcast.com, leave voicemail in the drop down or in the menu. Just record your message, send it in. We'll play it on the show. And if you don't want to leave a voice recording, just scroll down and type out your question, type out your comments, your opinions, whatever it is, and send it to us. And we'll just read them on the show and react. So make sure you guys take advantage of that, start engaging with us. And I really do want to incorporate that segment into the show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Follow us on all the socials at The Dogs Podcast for all the updates during OTAs over the next 3-4 days. And then we'll come back to you guys with our reactions when it's all said and done for the first set of OTAs. It's going to be an exciting summer. Very happy, very glad to have you guys with us, along for the ride. And until I see you guys in the next one, let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of The Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order, and that code can be used over and over, so you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.
Memorial Day doorbuster deals are here at Lowe's. Right now, Rewards members save $80 on the Master Forge 4-burner gas grill, now just $149. Plus, Rewards members save $900 on the Lowe's exclusive Hisense French door refrigerator, now only $999. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/26. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at Lowe's.com/terms. Subject to change.
Hi, I'm Tara Schmidt, a registered dietitian and host of On Nutrition, a podcast from Mayo Clinic where we dig into the latest nutrition trends and research to help you understand what's health and what's hype. There's a lot of wild stuff out there, so we'll be keeping it science-based, research-informed, and practical. Mayo Clinic's On Nutrition. New episodes every other week, wherever you get your podcasts.